Okay, today I'm going to start by going ahead and tackling these errors I've gotten, just to get them out of the way before I move on to bigger things. Hopefully that won't be the whole video. I mean, I'm doing these 20 minutes now, so this should only take a few minutes, I think. So first off, this first one says, cannot move selected character to position near self. What happens is, in order to move a character to a position, it's global right pressed event in the game object, which obviously isn't the character itself. And so when it tries to do the collision, it says this last boolean is not me, and it says true, which should be, okay, you're not checking yourself, so it's not trying to collide with itself. The problem is that that means that, well, what happens is you can't actually. It's not looking at the character; it's looking at the game, and the game doesn't even have a mask. That doesn't even matter. So that's just completely pointless. It could be either way, and it's still gonna not work. Now, I've already said that I can't do triggers because I haven't actually paid for the full game maker yet, and I don't plan on doing that anytime this month at least, because I am kind of, again, hardware cash, but that's beside the point, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to find some way around it. One way I could do it is I could move all of this for telling it where to move. I could move it to in the character and make them keep track of it, but then I would make sure that they were the one selected and all that, and I don't know, it seems like it's a lot simpler to have it here in that sense. And that would mean that there would be that event for each and every single solitary character. They'd all say, oh, is that me? And then have to do it, whereas with this, it's just a one event, and I'd much rather have it be a trigger on the character to actually do the collision for itself. So I might try to see if I can actually just get the trigger to basically happen through the step. Obviously, so yeah, triggers won't work. I don't think that'll work either, though. That's the problem. I might just have to move it to the character. It's the only way I can really get it to work the way I want it to right now, and that's what I'm gonna have. So that's what I'm gonna have to do. So I'll just I'll comment this out. Great. It's got a bunch of crap in here. This is what I want to comment out anyway. I'll comment that out, and then I'll say, take this, copy that. Well, actually I do want to take all of it out, don't I? So just, here. That doesn't work either, really? Because I did all that other stuff to it. There's that part. Oh my. Maybe I should have paused the video for this. I didn't realize it was going to be a pain in the arse, because I'd done all those other comments trying to make it work before. There. Huh. Now it's gone. Forever. So now we make a global right pressed. Paste that in there. So now we have that code in here. Now it's actually working for him, and we can say this is actually going to work completely different. We don't need this part because this is just referencing the list, the team list, to get his ID, and he knows his own ID, and it doesn't even matter. So he just change this stuff for himself. There. Get rid of this part too. Size. There. There's other checks that would have to happen here. Right now what it does is it actually just checks to see if it's hitting anything solid where you've tried to click, except for itself. Oh, but first it has to actually make sure that it's selected. So now, if you're on the player team and you right click someplace that isn't solid, it'll move there. And it should work correctly. I should be able to move them kind of near themselves. It's a small change, but kind of a nice thing to have. I mean, it's mostly just... Oh, I'm telling them to don't... Oh, I'm able to select them. That's interesting. Here, let me check something else. Now, when I go to fix something, like, immediately, I try not to put it in the... Well, I don't try not to. I, in fact, succeed quite well, I think, in not putting it in the list of errors, because there's no point. I'm doing it right now. Why should I even bother with it? So, what we're going to do is, right now it's actually able to select itself, and right here is where it's supposed to say that it not be able to do that, but it is. It's doing it anyway. I have to figure out why. It might be because I've underestimated or overestimated GameMaker a bit here by doing these. By having this be and then or and then all that, like the way I've done it, I've assumed that I can do these. I'm trying to remember. There's a word I'm losing here. I can't remember what I was trying to say. Oh, there's a word like for what I'm doing here, but it doesn't matter because I can't remember it. Because that's a thing I do. I forget things. Okay, well, in any case, the problem I think might be because of how I've got this set up. So I'm going to try moving it around a little. I'm going to say, so we'll say if, well, this might actually mean doing this a little, in a kind of a dumb way, and if this doesn't work, that's fine, I'll just move it back. I don't know why else it wouldn't work, though, but instead of doing it like this, let's say if, let's get rid of all of this stuff. Let's say if, not dead, okay, if, not enemy, and C dot. Yep, pretty dumb, but that's okay. I bet this won't work, though. It shouldn't, anyway. And if it does, I'm going to be kind of depressed, because that's just a failing of GameMaker, really. Well, nope, it didn't. I didn't think so. I can't select anybody else. I'm going to have to remove some other stuff. Okay. Oh, hey, no, it actually put the waypoint. Oh, it's what the other thing probably did work. I thought it was, I couldn't tell. The other way probably was fine. Oh well, whatever. I'll do it that way then. Okay. Oops. How did that happen? You're going away too. Boop, boop, boop. Oops. There. Okay. Now it's back the way it was. You're welcome. I did nothing there. Yeah, everything. That actually does work. I couldn't tell before because of the moving to the next guy who needs to get a thing. See, I can do this. Boop, 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 boop. There. See? Now they can move next to each other. Neat. Done. Next, can again target the selected character. Let's see. Right now, I should be able to... Actually, no, I just checked and I can't. I happen to now know that I can't do that. I just did that. Apparently. I don't know, I could have sworn I'd gotten it to select themselves before. We'll see if it comes up again eventually, but for now we'll say it's done. See, I'm only halfway through this video, and I have made a change and then changed it back already, but you know, whatever. If a waypoint becomes blocked, the character continues to pursue it indefinitely. This might be one we leave in here and just forget about for now. It's a complicated issue. I mean, there's a couple of different ways I could fix it. I've been thinking about making it so that characters on the same team will actually check to see what the waypoint is for their teammates and not move to block it. Basically, where you put down your waypoint will become solid, essentially. Well, at least for your own teammates. And they would they would say no when you tried to move them to some place that somebody else is already moving to. That would be fine, you know. I might do that eventually. I don't know, but I might also just make it so that the waypoints maybe kind of nudge them, you know, out of the way. I was also thinking about making it so that they would. This is probably if I implement anything right now, I'm going to make it so that they simply give up if they get within like a certain range, probably about like, you know, the general size of the character right now, and they can't reach it for a certain amount of time after they get within that range, they'll probably just give up. I don't know if I need to do that right now. It's kind of a not really an important issue, so let's go ahead and move on from that. Actually, let's forget about bugs for a minute. We don't really have any other big ones, so we can go ahead and maybe start actually adding in some of the stats. So let's see. We already have HP. You're eventually going to have some other things, which I've put in here. There's the attributes, but then there's also the stats, because we already have health. Obviously, when it reaches 0, you die. There's some other ones. Energy, you know, doing stuff lowers your energy, and when it becomes 0, character becomes unconscious. And you actually recover it more slowly when low on health. That's the idea right now. I'm probably going to change that. I don't know yet. It's one of those things. I just put it in here to have something in here, you know. And then this is my theory basically. And when I come back to this after I've actually gotten all of this in there, I might end up changing it because it might play in a way that I don't like if when I actually set it up this way. There's also morale, which I'm including mostly just for amusement's sake. I mean, basically, you guys will be able to panic like in XCOM. That's one of the big inspirations for this game. So I figured I might as well go ahead and include it. Which it'll also happen to bad guys, which I'm hopeful will be very funny. As you run around slaughtering their allies, they'll start to run away and drop their weapons and all that fun stuff. I'm going to try to balance it so that it's actually kind of rare for it to happen, though. Right now, I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to be like a 0 to 100 with no actual like increase, but there is an attribute tied to it that will affect how likely it is for them to panic. It's bravery. There's a bunch of other... I'm actually having a lot of attributes in this if I do it like the way I've got it set up now. Accuracy is bonus chance to hit. The base is based on the weapon you're using and the distance from the enemy, if it's ranged anyway. Dodge is your ability to not be hit, based probably on your armor you're wearing, or at least that might take away from this. And you basically, these two roll against each other when attacking. Finesse is criticals. I wanted something in there to affect how often somebody gets criticals. I think it's going to be important to like a rogue thief kind of class to be able to to be the one that's able to sneak up on an enemy and then get lots of big hits in, but otherwise be kind of flimsy, otherwise, well, made of paper, basically low on constitution, low on health, low on actual like strength, but like really good at just getting up there and ganking. Range is actually for thrown weaponry only, because I think that range for projectiles for bow and arrow will be set by the weapon, but for thrown weaponry, I think I'm gonna base it on this. I mostly just have a stat tied to thrown weaponry, I guess. Strength is damage with melee weapons, obviously. It also determines how big of a weapon you can carry and the maximum amount of stuff you can carry. There will be an inventory sort of like XCOM, I think, with the grid, so that you, and with items taking up spaces in that grid, but you'll also have to worry about strength affecting how much like weight they can carry. So if they have like 3 large swords in their backpack, they might be a little slow at the very least if they don't have enough strength. Sense is the ability to notice things like sneaking enemies and hidden traps. It also will affect the view distance of characters, but only in the dark, I think. I'm not sure yet. It depends on how I end up actually doing that. Certainly, if I want to do like Fog of War and that sort of thing, I'll probably need the full version of Game Maker, since it actually adds like particles and that sort of thing. I don't know exactly how I would go about doing that, quite frankly. I've never tried to do anything like that. We'll see what I do. Constitution. This determines how well you can withstand, things like poisons and low energy, to keep from being unconscious or to keep from being poisoned. And it also affects how much health you get each level. So higher constitution will mean, especially as they level up, they'll get more health, and that's how you're going to get a tank, Someone who can just run in and start hacking at things and not really worry too much about damage. Sneak. I'm actually, with this, I'm actually almost wanting to put remove the bonus against poisons. It's something I'll just see when I actually have it all implemented, how it actually plays, but I don't know if I want a tank to be able to run up to something poisonous and just sort of kill it without having to worry about it, because their health's high and they're also resistant to poison. I'm not sure if that's such a good idea. That's why I don't really like, I like having lots of different attributes so I don't have to, so I can more easily balance it out. And then sneak, ability to be unnoticed when outside the visual range of the enemy. If you're inside the visual range of the enemy, you are noticed. I don't want to make it so that you can just sort of start sneaking and then, get around them. Instead, I'm going to make it so that if you do happen to be behind the enemy, they won't turn around and look at you unless an attack. They'll completely ignore your existence unless they fail their sense roll against your sneak. It also, and because that's kind of going to be hard to do, I wanted to make it essentially like sneaking, trying to sneak. It's going to be high risk, high reward, because you can't actually, I don't want to make it so you actually have to, mostly it's a problem of interface and how you actually control it. I guess I could just make it a button someplace, but I'm otherwise not really expecting to include very many buttons. So it'd just be this one button for sneaking that you'd have, or I guess I could make it a keyboard key, but again, I'm not sure I'm going to be using that at all otherwise. So I figured I'll just make it so if you move around such that they don't see you, then your sneak will check whether or not they hear you. But in order to make it high reward, it also increases the damage you actually do when you get a sneak attack. So rather than making it so it just does a crit, it's actually going to be based on this, so it'll be the bonus sneak damage. And then bravery, like I said before, affects how well you can handle low morale. And then once I've got, those will just be putting in those. I'll just put in those variables into each of the character object, and give them some, probably just even them all out to something to start with. And then once I've got all that in, and I've started to work on this, I can work on leveling. What I'm thinking about doing, I'm kind of EVs. If you've ever read if you've ever read the wiki for Pokemon, you probably know about this. If you haven't played Pokemon, you probably don't. They're a hidden stat that affects what actually gets stats when you level up. So I call them EVs just because that's what they made me think of. Their effort values. You get them for actions taken, and when you get a certain number of them, that's when the character levels up. Kind of like in Oblivion, the Elder Scrolls games, but more. I wanted to make it so that it doesn't. You don't increase that. You don't have an experience bar for each and every stat or attribute. Instead, you actually just get these to affect the chance of that thing getting a stat getting an increase. So you get a certain number of points, like 4, kind of arbitrarily is probably what I would set it to start with. I might affect it based on how many I think that each of the points actually affects attributes, but 4, sure, why not? But you get and it changes like how many the chance of one thing getting a point, and you also have I think I've said this before. Classes actually affects the base EVs for each stat. So if it's at 0, like if you don't have any base EVs in it, if you don't do anything that affects it, if you don't if you're playing as a rogue, you'll have a base EV in sneak, so you'll have a base chance to you'll always have a chance to get a point in sneak, but you won't have that base point in strength. So if you never carry a heavy weapon or never carry a heavy load, then you'll never actually get an EV in it, and you'll have no chance of actually increasing that stat. That way, the idea is to make it so that you can use your characters however you want, and if you say, if you want somebody to be your ranger, even if they're not, you can go ahead and use them that way, and you'll get increases to accuracy. But otherwise, if you're not using it in some way, the class will affect how it actually increases. So even then, you'll still start to get like if you're using your barbarian as a ranger, you'll start to get strength either way, so that it still gains that stat. So hopefully you'll be able to actually you'll be able to make each character unique and play to their strengths and strategize in that way. So it's actually a fun game. Hopefully, I know that's the idea anyway. We'll see what actually happens. I'm actually out of time for this video. All I've really done is talked about this and killed a couple of bugs. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end it here, and you can subscribe. Next time I think I'm going to actually start to do some of this stuff. Actually, probably, I don't know, right now maybe, depends on whether I decide to go eat. But yeah, see you next time.